Stressed by COVID-19, a survey shows more people working from home feeling stressed than frontline workers.
More money and more help for startups. Singapore looks to spur innovation and entrepreneurship during the pandemic.
And if you're looking for the next best thing, this might be it. Transparent toilets make their debut in Tokyo.
Good evening, you're watching The Big Story, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. I'm Olivia Quay.
I'm Haryanto Diman. You can subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode.
Now, Mr. Tanchwan will be nominated for re-election as Speaker of Parliament when the House meets next Monday. He was first appointed to the post on September 11, 2017, after Madam Halimah Yacob relinquished it to run for the presidency.
Meanwhile, Minister in the Prime Minister's office, Indrani Raja, will also be designated as Leader of the House and Senior Minister of State Zaki Muhammad as Deputy Leader. Ms. Indrani takes over the post from Minister for Sustainability and the Environment Grace Fu, who has held it since October 2015. As Leader of the House, she'll be in charge of coordinating and managing the government's parliamentary business.
Mr. Zaki, who's Senior Minister of State for Manpower and Defence, will take over as a Deputy Leader from National Development Minister Desmond Lee. Now, Mr. Lee has held the post since October 2015.
An update on the COVID-19 situation here. 68 new cases were confirmed today with 0 in the community for the third time this month.
Today's count, though, includes 2 imported cases, while the majority are work permit holders currently in quarantine. The Health Ministry will release more details tonight.
You know, Olivia, the pandemic isn't just affecting people's physical health, but also their mental well-being.
That's right. Well, surveys conducted by the National University Health System's Mind Science Centre show that more people working from home felt stressed than those on the COVID-19 front lines. While at work, 61% of people working from home reported feeling stressed compared to 53% of frontline workers. While at home, 51% of people working from home reported feeling stressed compared to 32% of frontline workers.
Now, the surveys also found women felt the impact of the pandemic more than men. Older adults, 45 years old and above, coping better than younger ones, and retirees having higher levels of mental resilience than non-working adults and students.
Well, overall, 75% of Singaporeans said they were satisfied with timely and useful information the government provided during the crisis, and 57% said they were confident the government had a good grasp on managing the situation. The surveys were carried out in May and June, which covered most of the circuit breaker period.
To further delve into the findings, we're now joined by Associate Professor John Wong, Director of the NUHS Mind Science Centre. Now, he's also the lead clinician in the survey. Prof, welcome to the show, Prof. Prof, did the results surprise you in any way? Did anything in particular stand out for you?
So true enough, we saw a significant level of stress and burden and perceived resilience, but we were a little bit surprised that the group that responded as those working from home and not the frontline fronting people actually reported a higher level of perceived stress and burden in their going about doing their working from home arrangement. The second important observation we noted from the raw findings was that there was a gender difference. Not so much of one gender being stronger or weaker, but was really a 10 percentage equivalent higher weightage of female gender having reported higher stress than the male gender. Third is that we were also pleasantly surprised and happy to note that the older workforce respondent actually reported much higher level of perceived resilience.
So you definitely highlighted some of the things that we have identified as quite surprising results from the survey. So let's delve more into what you mentioned about more respondents actually who are working from home actually reporting feeling stressed than those on the COVID-19 frontline. What were the concerns of those working from home that they would feel more stressed than our frontline workers?
So I would say that for this group of people working from home, when we spoke to individual, not so much from the survey findings, but from individual feedback, it was quite apparent that many of them actually had to take on multiple dual roles of running their businesses and work process from home offices. But at the same time, they also had to be around to oversee their young children's education, home-based learning program arrangement. They also have to work on how to care for their elderly at home, where previously they were in the office. At the same time, they also probably have to think very hard how to bring food to the table because everybody is at home. So I think with all this combination of demands of blurring of social and working space actually impose quite a significant level of demand as well as perceived stress for those working from home.
Now, separately, Prof, your survey also found that the majority of Singaporeans reported that they were satisfied with how the COVID-19 situation has been managed. Can you elaborate on what specific aspects that they were satisfied with?
In general, we have close to 60% of the respondents were reported that they were satisfied with how the entire national effort were organized, as well as how they see things are flowing around them, as well as in the community. So I think that was something very encouraging, that despite the many evolving changes with managing COVID-19 pandemic, and the outbreak was a very quickly evolving one, that actually to be able to achieve that level of satisfaction, broadly speaking, is a very respectable.
Well, thank you so much, Professor Wong, for the valuable insights. I'm happy to have you on the show. Now, we were speaking to the Director of NUHS Mind Science Centre, Associate Professor John Wong.
Now, the centre recently concluded a survey which, among other things, found that more people working from home reported feeling stressed compared with those who are on the front line of the COVID-19 pandemic.
If you're feeling stressed and need someone to talk to, or know someone feeling the mental impact of COVID-19, here are some organizations you can reach out to. Do take a screenshot so you can refer to this list at any time.
In other local news, President Halimah Yacob has made clear there is no place for discrimination of any form and against anyone in Singapore. She was responding to an incident last month in which a 20-year-old Malay woman was told by Tang's department store to remove her hijab at work. So, in a strongly worded Facebook post today, Madam Halimah said discrimination in the workplace is particularly disturbing during the COVID-19 pandemic, as such incidents will add to the anxiety of people already grappling with concerns over their jobs and livelihoods. She added, quote, "People should be assessed solely on their merits and their ability to do a job and nothing else." Well, Madam Halimah said that Tangs has since agreed to remove such restrictions and will allow the hijab to be worn at work.
Former top civil servant Ngiam Tong Dao, who worked closely with Singapore's founding leaders, died this morning. He was 83. His family told the Straits Times that he had been in ill health for 4.5 years. Mr. Ngiam spent 40 years in the Apex Singapore Administrative Service before retiring in 1999 at the age of 62.
UOB customers can visit all of the bank's branches from today as it fully resumes operations. The branches will continue to prioritize service for elderly and vulnerable customers during the first hour of banking operations. Now, most branches of DBS and OCBC have also reopened.
The Manpower Ministry has released new details in its weekly jobs situation report. More than 4,600 jobs and 860 traineeships in startups are available to job seekers as part of the SG United Jobs and Skills programs. The 5 top jobs, ranging from software developers to chefs, pay a median monthly salary of between $2,700 and $6,000. Now, separately, 6,300 employers have made cost-saving measures affecting some 224,800 employees.
Now, more on the startups front. From September, Enterprise Singapore will raise the grant support of the Startup SG Founder Program from $30,000 currently to $50,000. Trade and Industry Minister Tanchwan said this will help the runway for startups to develop their business ideas in a challenging business climate. To tap the grant, startups must now be formed with minimally 3 Singaporeans and/or permanent residents, of which 2 must be first-time founders.
A 3-month venture building program will also be set up to help entrepreneurs source innovation, commercialize ideas into scalable businesses, get product and solution validation from customers, and find capital. Singapore's 5 autonomous universities are partners in this program, and aspiring entrepreneurs may apply through the university's call applications on their websites, which will be up by the end of August.
But how will these 2 initiatives help startups? We bring in Professor Freddy Boey, Deputy President of Innovation and Enterprise at the National University of Singapore. Welcome, Prof. What do you make of the enhancements made to the Startup SG Founder Program, as well as the new Venture Building Program announced today? To what extent will both these schemes give a boost to startups?
I would say that this is a very opportune time. Both will help in a significant way. I think in times like this, where fresh graduates and displaced PMETs are looking for other opportunities, this holds a very good promise. So I'm looking optimistically at this. The important thing is to make sure that we can move this in a faster way than normal, and then we will see the results at the end of the day, in terms of the startups that they do and so on. From a financial point of view, the support that is given to those who are willing to participate is not huge. But then again, when you do startups, their salaries are never huge. On the other hand, this is going to happen with, for example, an institute like NUHS, where we can give a lot of support to them to make things move faster. So the aim really is not to just tide over this short period of time, but to create an opportunity that will lead to a longer sustained career. I think that's the exciting part. And I think that those who embark on this will see that there is a lot more than just tiding over. There is a promise of having a very good opportunity to be an entrepreneur. Now, when it comes to funding, as they all say, money is never enough, but I'm optimistic. How much money is needed to move depends on the kind of business they are in. But having said that, at least the way that NUS will run it, we will look at this whole thing. $50,000 is by no means a small amount of money, especially when they are getting support from institutions like NUS. So all in, we will move them, and for those that are really promising, they will be able to get additional funding on top and above. The support level given by NUS itself will not be small. We don't see this as a time for us to. We see this as a time for us to look at all these many possible companies that can set up, and ourselves invest into it, first as a resource, and then later on even possibly as our own funding. And we can quickly bring in external funders and investors into the picture. So it's a good start. It's a good start.
Right. Prof, on that note, how much has the COVID-19 outbreak dampened the spirit or the appetite of potential startups?
Yeah. Of course, naturally, COVID itself is not good news. But having said that, actually, it has generated quite a lot of exciting ideas in the area of where to manage COVID, prevent and so on. So not surprisingly, in the last couple of months, even during the circuit breakers, we've had quite a few startup companies within NUHS addressing immediate and urgent needs of COVID in Singapore, and then probably after that overseas. So I wouldn't say that it is all depressive. I would say that it has also provided opportunities. I think people also take this as a time to look at themselves, their companies, and say, okay, is there a way for me to renovate myself or innovate myself to new possibilities and products? So I'm seeing actually that it's not a wet blanket. In fact, I anticipate that post-COVID, there will be a lot more people who may be interested in innovation.
Right, well, that's good news, Professor. Thank you so much for joining us today, and especially for the clearer idea, the clearer picture that you have given Haryanto and myself, who may not be all that entrepreneurial savvy. Well, we've been speaking with Freddy Boey, Deputy President of Innovation and Enterprise at NUHS.
Good evening, I'm Dylan Ang. Let's take a look at the global headlines. On the COVID-19 front, Bangladesh said it's ready to hold trials of potential COVID-19 vaccines developed by India and will receive early supplies of any successful candidate. India is actually home to the world's biggest vaccine-making company, the Serum Institute of India, and is currently holding trials for 3 potential coronavirus vaccines. Meanwhile, Bangladesh's State Medical Research Agency has approved a third-phase trial of a potential COVID-19 vaccine, which was developed by China's Sinovac Biotech last month. However, final approval from the government is still pending. US authorities have formally notified Hong Kong of the withdrawal of 3 bilateral deals, following China's imposition of the national security law. The agreements covered the surrender of fugitive offenders, the transfer of sentenced persons, and reciprocal tax exemptions on income derived from the international operation of ships. Kamala Harris has accepted the Democratic nomination for Vice President in the upcoming US presidential election. Along with Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, Ms. Harris condemned President Trump's profound, quote, failure as a leader, calling for Americans to lend their support to Joe Biden instead.
Donald Trump's failure of leadership has cost lives and livelihoods. We are a nation that is grieving the loss of life, the loss of jobs, the loss of opportunities, the loss of normalcy, and yes, the loss of certainty.
Donald Trump hasn't grown into the job because he can't. And the consequences of that failure are severe.
And finally, public toilets around the world have a bad reputation for being dirty and dangerous, but a prize-winning Japanese architect aims to change all that. Using a type of smart glass, the colorful toilet stalls unveiled in Shibuya are brightly lit, colorful, and transparent. How do they work? Well, the tinted glass becomes frosted and opaque when occupied and locked properly. And those are the top headlines from around the world. It's back to you guys in the studio.
Well, transparent public toilets. Jan, would you ever use something like that?
I don't mind trying, but the thing is, I'm a bit worried if, while I'm in there doing whatever that I need to do, and then the tech just fails.
I know, that's my
I think that's a worry.
Never. Good one. Okay, well, before we go, if you, like us, experience some tech issues today with Gmail or YouTube even, well, that's because Google is facing an outage globally, affecting many of its services. Google is investigating issues with Gmail sending, meet recording, and creating files in Google Drive, among other things.
That's right. Well, for more news and videos, of course, you can visit the straitstimes.com, and remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below. Once again, I'm Haryanto Diman with Olivia Quay. Join us tomorrow for more stories on A Big Story.